And this is a competitive tactical deck building game, but this one has a lot of interesting elements that make it different from a lot of other deck building games in the genre. First of all, players will be playing as a character and they're also going to be getting a unique deck of cards. But unlike a lot of other deck building games, the deck of cards that you start with is actually dictated by the board you're dealt and not by the character that you're playing as, because you're first going to be getting your board and then the associated deck of cards. And then each player is going to be dealt 3 different character cards and you're going to be choosing one of those characters to play as. This is really cool because it means that each of the characters offered in this game can actually be played with any of the decks of cards offered in this game. But you are going to be limited by the 3 character cards that you are dealt in that game, so you can already see how this game offers quite a lot of variability. But the variability doesn't stop there because the game plays over 3 rounds, with each of the rounds taking the players to different planets, and each of the planets are going to have their own set of rules that change the game in various ways. The game also does have a main board, and at the start of the game you're going to be putting your character's miniature out on the board, and there's going to be branching paths that you'll be able to move your miniature through as you play throughout the game, with each of those paths having different spaces with different icons that can grant you all sorts of different benefits depending on the path that you choose. That will come a bit later though, because before the players are actually able to move through any of these spaces, there are a few phases that you need to go through at the beginning of each round, with the first phase allowing players to draft 2 different types of cards. There are your combat cards that you'll be able to draft and add into your deck, but then there are also the equipment cards that players will be drafting and then putting beside their board, with those cards modifying your character's stats and also potentially granting you with some special abilities. Once players have done all that, you're going to be revealing the planet card for the round and the effects that it's going to have, and then players are going to be taking turns, starting their turn by moving down that path. Depending on the path you choose, you're going to be getting different benefits, but these benefits can do different things like allow you to add or remove combat cards from your deck, gain additional equipment cards, or even just gain victory points, but you can also gain tokens that you can spend in future turns in order to augment your actions. Each round also presents the players with different monsters that they can choose to fight for that specific round, and after you've gained your benefit for moving down the path, you're going to be choosing one of the available monsters to fight individually. Once all the players have done this, each player is going to be fighting their chosen monster, and the way that that works is that you're going to be drawing a hand of cards from your deck, and the amount you get to draw is going to be determined by the stats of the type of combat you're going to be choosing to fight that monster with. You can fight the monster with either ranged attacks, magic attacks, or melee attacks, and this might have various implications on the battle, but also you'll want to have a high stat of whichever one that you chose, because that means you'll get to draw more cards into your hand. And I really love the way that the combat works in this game because it does use a push your luck element, because you can actually play up to 7 cards in a single attack against the monster, but you may not always have 7 cards in your hand. The way that the push your luck is incorporated into this is that the more cards you play, the more damage you can potentially do. But if the total value of those cards goes above your character's critical hit value, then you miss and your attack is a complete bust. This means that you'll probably want to start by drawing cards from your deck, but once you start getting close to that critical hit value, you might want to have a little bit more control over that and start using the cards that you have in your hand. If you're able to get that total value to match your critical hit value, then that actually allows you to deal an additional amount of damage, draw an extra card into your hand, and gain a free victory point. But once you either bust or issue your attack, that's going to be ending your attack on the monster, then the monster is going to be attacking back by drawing a card from its deck. You're simply going to resolve the effects of that card, and then the combat's going to continue back and forth until you have defeated the monster, or the monster has defeated you. Players will then move into the next round, drawing a new planet card and repeating those phases of the round over again, and this happens for 3 rounds, and then the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game. And if you're interested, check this one out. I will have it linked in the description down below.